Happy Easter from YouTube Theological Seminary. Yeah, doing the whole bishop look, even though I'm not a bishop. I'm not even a priest. But, you know, if you're a pantheist, it doesn't matter. I have heard Einstein say he believes in the God of Spinoza, and I do too, which is a pantheist God that's, that says the world is going to happen the way it's going to happen, and you can either go with it or fight it, and fighting it. So how we do, blaming other people for their sins is the original sin, basically. So if you don't blame other people for their stuff, they won't blame you, and which is essentially the Jesus message too. So I want to talk about Jesus because it is Resurrection Day, Easter. So let me tell you there's a lot of stories, and they're all beliefs. So my beliefs can be as accurate as anybody else's. There's beliefs are what things we agree on that aren't necessarily those things that we know. With knowledge is knowledge, but belief is a matter of agreement. And the agreement is changing on a lot of things, which scares the hell out of the Catholic Church. There's all kinds of syllabi of errors that were written. And there was a whole holy office that banned heretics, and now they just don't have the manpower. And they've come to the realization that if you ban somebody, people buy their books. So the official policy of the Roman Catholic Church is to ignore people, I think, which is the smarter thing to do if you want to hold on to your power. Will they? This is from the YouTube or the Michael Bender School of Ecclesiology. No, they won't, unless they give stuff up. Francis is getting old, and his cardinals are very liberal. Congratulations to Archbishop, probably soon to be Cardinal McElroy. Bless Bishop Cardinal Gregory for stacking the deck in Washington, since he's a cardinal too. So all the liberal cardinals we need are we need all the liberal cardinals we can get. I think we have them. Now the question is, what will they do? Will they go with? Will they finally decide? Will they be deadlocked, or will they elect somebody? Peter the Roman. Even though that was what Francis was supposed to be, but obviously he's not going to be killed in the streets of Rome after an earthquake. He's a little too infirm for that. If he survives an earthquake, it would really be a miracle, especially if he could be shot by an Italian soldier, which is what Fatima said, if you believe in Fatima. Or if you believe in St. Malachi. Both of them have proven to be not as true as we thought. Accurate in a lot of respects, but and even self-agreeing, but that doesn't mean that God does not change his mind as time goes on, or that the path wasn't always something different. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Whether we want to go with the ecumenical patriarch, or if they're going to realize that, because the Orthodox world is in the middle of war. So maybe it wants to denounce Moscow, which is going to fall because Putin's going to fall. So that's not going to be the third C. The church is under persecution in Turkey, but it's just Turkey. By rule, or by tradition, where the church actually belongs is where the world power is, so it can then speak truth to power, which would be Washington, which means that the real pope should be McElroy, because his see is only the military diocese and the city of Washington, and he has suffragette bishops, so whatever they're called, suffragan bishops. So it's to have the Cardinal of Washington be the Patriarch of Washington, in union with the Anglican Church, because Melito said, this is Ecumenical Patriarch of Melito, 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago, said that the Church of England was rightfully ordained, even though Rome will deny it forever, but doesn't mean that they're correct. They sometimes lie, you think? So for their own purposes. So maybe some combination of the archbishops, the archbishops of Washington, Anglican and American, would be the Pope, the leader, the ecumenical patriarch. I don't think Pope is an Italian term, and it's a Coptic term. Those are the two places that call their patriarch the Pope. So there's two popes that are recognized with the title. Although the Coptics are gotten pretty small too. The Coptic Church should actually be of all Africa, so the Anglican Church and the Catholic Church of Africa should report to Rome, to Alexandria, not Rome. But that's the politics of the church, which is a legitimate thing to talk about. But the primary, the ecumenical see should be in Washington, and maybe it will be. Why? Because the church has promised to survive, and the only way it's going to survive is if it geeks on sex, ordaining women, not freaking out about masturbation, or even or gays, or ordaining women. Little changes, and letting congregations run themselves, because the whole running of the whole parish is running. We don't have enough priests to run parishes and have a structure and have that kind of structure. We need to have deacon administrators and pastors who are chosen by their congregation to then elect their bishop. They have a lot more bishops too that elect their patriarch. The patriarchs can then decide who goes to Washington. So it's a more ancient construction. It's been done in the church, so it can be done again. There is precedent, and we all know the precedent in the Catholic Church, which I belong to, but since the pandemic, never seemed to go. But I still, I'm a big believer in the sacraments. In fact, that's the sacraments are the things that make it true. We know that it's true, that we know that Jesus really was, and he was who he says he was. Going back to Easter and the theological seminary, and the Spinozas / BLW / Jesus / Christian theology, because Jesus said, "My yoke is easy, my burden is light." He was talking as God, not as just the guy who had family trees on both sides of the Maccabean side of the street. According to Matt Baker, Joseph's father may have been a hidden or missing or spirited away son of Herod, or brother of Herod. Because Herod had the innocents that Herod killed were actually his sons and brothers. They weren't like this band of infants, but they were looking for Jesus and his father and his grandfather, because they were actual rivals to the throne. So, Jesus had this political expectation, and he probably knew, whether it was a foster situation or a blood situation, that he was a target. So when he went and saw Antipas, Antipas probably wanted to see him and see the family resemblance. They don't talk about that part. So if he looked at all like Joseph, because God does not have to be like Hercules. And by the way, the Herculean myth, or the Heraclean myth, comes from the Tyrian myth, which comes from the long-term prophecy in Judaism of a redeemer that was the Son of God. So it didn't come from Rome. Those are people who are or skeptics who think, oh, it was Mithra that they based Jesus on. No, Mithra was based on Jesus, not the other way around. The Jesus prophecy actually was the first one from the cradle of religion, which was Babylon, and the cradle of religious writing was, well, Israel. So, yeah, the Canaanite legends are actually the legends on which Rome is based. That's one of the things I learned in the YouTube Theological Seminary. Look at all this. There's a whole bunch of Demiurge Yahweh videos that go into that. If you really look at the history of God as Yahweh, as a combination of Yahweh and El, you come up with the truth that, first there was El, and El became Baal, and Baal became Zeus, or Baal became Saturn, or Cronus. And Cronus and El were the same concept of God. And Zeus and Yahweh were the same concept of God. And Zeus got rid of the human the sacrifice of children. It started with Baal and El. It was a thing. It's a human thing. The whole story of Abraham. So, yeah. So if you really look at the legends and how religion occurs, there was no event where Moses got the truth and put it in books. It was actually, or it was a family history. It was a family history, but it was the Canaanite gods was based on the Sumeric gods was the history, and that's where the whole concept of a family deity happened. Was the birthplace of Western civilization, which was the Tigris and Euphrates, and that was they came first, and then the Greeks came after. So anybody who says the Christian theology is an outgrowth of the Greek is illiterate, because from the Phoenicians brought it to Carthage, the Carthaginians brought it to Greece, who brought it to Rome, but it was sourced in Babel, in Uruk, with the Sumerians, which was where the whole chronology and genealogy of civilizations in the West, it's accurate. The nations came out of that part. Agriculture evolved with the nations in the Middle East. So over 7,000 years ago, there was a whole hunter-gatherer uncivilization, brotherhood, wanderhood, whatever, that weren't organized into cities, or they might have been. There's also, musings that they might have been the survivors of another civilization, but we have no idea about that. If those people didn't bury their dead, if they cremated them, then there's no bones to look at, because everything else wears away. So, and that doesn't matter. God, the idea of God, as in Christ, is proven by the sacraments. It's not proven by the myth of the virginal conception. We know that God was with Jesus because God is with us when we receive Jesus in communion. That is the proof of Christianity, and it can only be felt. It can't be falsified. It can't be looked at empirically, because we don't have the tools for that. Just like astrology can't be proven empirically, because it doesn't have the empiricists don't have the right tools. They've got to accept personal testimony in mass as an indication. That's also why people don't think Alcoholics Anonymous works, because that would require looking at individual experience in mass and without trying to do double blinds and trying to find control groups. That's not how personal experience works. Anyway, that's part one. Next part's even funner.